Fractal level 14, Aetherblade Retreat. This fractal is short and sweet. That made me experiment with Engineer to make a build that doesn't rely on explosions. Currently Budget NG is using a flamethrower with experimental turrets focused around tool belt skills. It gets a lot of might and fury from all the traits and the food, but it gets a little dicey here and there, because it's very glass cannon. The fractal is basically one giant trap-filled corridor. Even the last boss is more about avoiding a laser rather than killing something. It starts out with underwater mines, which are not that difficult to avoid, but if you don't pay attention then you will die. The mobs in the fractal are quite manageable, although every one of them has a really hard hitting attack. The thing that did me in here is the war banner. After the initial groups, we arrive at our first obstacle, electrified floor. If you touch it, you will be transported down to the start again. To complete it, we need to get to the other side and interact with a console. Sneaking our way past the next enemy, we come to the second obstacle. This time, it's not the floor, but the walls that are dangerous. Luckily, they are not lethal like the floor, but even so, we cheese it with Elixir S. In higher floors there are more consoles, but on this one it's easy with just one. We arrive in front of a closed gate. To open it, we need to kill every wave of Aetherblade that is coming our way. I die a few times because it's getting a bit hectic, but apparently I can just run in and go where I left off. The last boss has a little pre-event, where you convince him that you want to continue, and as any end boss would, he refuses. The mobs are annoying, and my initial plan was to get rid of the ads first before I tackle Frizz. But Frizz really hits hard. A few times I got one-shot by his flamethrower 2 skill. Luckily he doesn't move around with his flamethrower, so I abused that fact by running circles around him, and hopefully the ads will die with him. In one lucky or unlucky, depends on who you ask, run, I go down the moment that Frizz activates his lasers. As a note for future me, just focus on Frizz. The ads will die from the lasers. So after Frizz helped me out get up, it's time for the golem part. It exists of 3 phases. First we have a golem with small lasers. The small lasers we can stand in or we can jump over them. And if they hit the golem will block all attacks for a few seconds. Which is annoying, but not the end of the world. Second phase is a big wall of lasers with 2 golems. The big wall is slower than the low laser, but it gives the golems 25 stacks of might, which can be very lethal if you don't pay attention. And the third phase is the big wall of lasers and the low laser with 2 more golems with the same effects. The game makes it more difficult than it should be. The lasers look desynced. Sometimes I just get hit out of nowhere and then the laser jumps to me. As a future tip, maybe don't stand that close to the laser to prevent any weird glitches. Even with all the deaths, this fractal took me half an hour. It's one of the faster ones. That's why I also dare to experiment with my build.
It was
Have I mentioned how much I hate those grubby little inquests?
I feel furious!
Alright, see you in level 15.